Good evening, all. I'm Abasaheb Kale from RIT Alumni Advisory Hub. I'm really pleased today to conduct this webinar in association and collaboration with Global Association for Corporate Services, GACS, and Maitra Jivache. Today we have Mr. Aditya Kulkarni, and he's going to talk about how to innovate for medical device industry, a very unique subject. I will introduce Aditya in due course, but before we start, I request all of you to please follow some instructions for better experience. Hope you all are doing well and following necessary lockdown procedures. Thank you very much indeed for joining this conversation today, and I'm very sure that you'll find it very, very useful. All your lines have been muted to reduce background noise. Please switch off your camera for better reception. Please feel free to ask your questions using the chat option. We will discuss the same with speaker after this particular session, after his talk. We will try to accommodate maximum questions. And I request all of you to please refrain from using chat section for unnecessary chats during the session, because that really disturbs speakers as well as others. Unless and until it is really necessary, you are not getting reception of, say, something or technical problem you are facing. Otherwise, please do not use chat box. The session will run from 5 p.m. to 6:30. In case it gets interrupted in between due to any technical reason, please join the meeting again on the same coordinates. I think 15th September going to be Engineers Day, and I wish all of you in advance Happy Engineers Day. It is said that engineers are the ones who bring technology to make our lives simpler, to bring comforts, to bring ease, and today is the day to thank them. In advance we are thanking you. We have a great engineer with us today who really is going to prove this particular quote. Aditya, my dear friend, I met this person, I remember 8th April 2019. We were conducting one session on education guidance, career guidance in Santa Cruz, Golibar, Jhopadpatti, slum area. And I was a speaker, and my friend Aditya and Gaurav both were with me. And when I heard these guys, I think I said, I need to know these, both of these gentlemen very well. And that journey started, and maybe for last entire couple of years, we are working together, doing something which is very interesting. Today, Aditya is co-founder of CareNX Innovations, co-founder and managing director of CareMother, co-founder of Science for Society S4S India. He's PhD scholar and teaching assistant at National University of Singapore. And most important and very proud for all of us, Queen Elizabeth Scholar of 2018. In today's session, he is going to, specifically when I talked to Aditya, it was from the perspective of his last two innovations, which are getting, one is already got completely commercialized and very successful. And the second one, what he's going to talk about is for COVID-19. So it is in final stages of getting released, and it is going to really help all of us. To brief, to give you Adi's introduction, he has obtained his BE in Computer Science from Government College of Engineering, Aurangabad in 2011. Immediately after that, he has worked in NVIDIA and ISRO before joining IIT Madras for master's program. After a brief stint at IIT, Aditya received his PhD in networking and distributed system in 2016. Afterwards, he has studied executive leadership at University of Cambridge, UK as Queen Elizabeth Scholar of 2018. Meanwhile, Aditya founded this technology venture in healthcare called CareNX Innovations in 2015 in Mumbai. CareNX builds digital AI-based technologies for maternal health. Through CareNext, his work is recognized by global developmental agencies, top universities, and tech industries in healthcare space. And just to add, entire doctor fraternity in India also. I think he has recently introduced his technologies for all the gynecologists, a big forum in Hyderabad. And after that, he was invited for a special talk in front of health minister of 55 countries. Aditya's current work is on especially on healthcare, and then now he's also very closely associated with Sahyadri Farms on blockchain and AI aspects. In 2019, on 13th March, he received award for transformation in healthcare industry by Rotary Club of Pune Pristine. With this, I hand over this forum to Adi. But before that, I will request my dear friend Rohit to play one very interesting video prepared by the Commonwealth on Adi. Rohit, can we have video, please?
I'm Aditya from India. I have started a startup called CareNext Innovations, and we develop technologies which enable pregnancy care to remote women. One of those technologies is called FetoSense, which is a smartphone-based fetal heart monitoring technology. We invented it because we lose 50% of fetus because of undiagnosed condition called fetal distress. So this FetoSense will allow a community health worker to take it at home of a pregnant woman, diagnose her fetal distress condition, and early identify complication. So this on-field decision will help pregnant women get intervention at the right time if she is diagnosed at a high-risk mother. There is a personal story behind it. I have seen a lot of pregnant women suffer in my village, and as a PhD in computer science, I always thought of developing technologies which will impact a number of lives. So that has been the real motivation behind developing FetoSense. Innovation is not only about developing certain product, it is about developing it and actually deploying it so that it is being used for a common goal. And I believe like the entire process of starting from an idea until it actually creates an impact is called as innovation.
Thank you, Rohit. I'm really happy once again that we are celebrating our Engineers Day with one of very young and dynamic engineer from this country who has not only brought fame, but he's been very, very active on global in global domain also. So once again, from Ra, from Maitra Jivache, and from GSS, Adi, thank you very much for joining us today, and look forward for a great session from your end. Over to you, Aditya.
Thank you very much, Abba sir, for the grand introduction. Thank you, RTI Alumni Advisory Club, Global Association for Corporate Services, and Maitra Jivache for hosting me. Before this session was starting, I mentioned that this is a great privilege for a person like me to come and present my story before a credible alumni base of RTI. What I said to Abba when he was mentioning, like, you should talk about your story. So what I thought of was to just tell you a story of my journey of how I started looking at this healthcare space and why I started that, how I tried to do things in such a way that some of those innovations will happen in India and may be useful for fraternity, doctor fraternity. So I would like to share one presentation, and while presenting every slide, I would like to tell you about my personal story and personal struggle behind achieving each of them. So that we will not only talk about what innovation I did, but also talk about the journey aspect of it, which I think is the essence of sharing how to innovate into the digital healthcare space. So just give me a moment and I will share my screen to you. So I hope this screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, Adi.
Okay, great. So Abbas sir had given a very grand introduction, but let me take a step back and tell you how I was studying back when I have got this idea of innovating into maternal and child health. So if we go back 13 years since the day I started this Care Mother company, it was August 2007 when I got enrolled into Bachelor of Computing. As Abba mentioned, it was Government Engineering College, Aurangabad. I enrolled into this particular discipline of computer science because I was always fascinated with computer science at the beginning. I was always fascinated because that was the time in 2005-6 when I was studying 11th-12th, and there were few computers in my town. Few of them were in my own college, and we would get only 1 hour to spend on that. And what we would learn is like Paint or Word document. But I always felt that computers could do much more than that, and that was the real interest, I would say, to join computer science program. After completing my engineering, I joined NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a graphics driver company. If you are using Microsoft's laptop, then you might have realized that NVIDIA develops graphics card, generally for gamers. So I worked for NVIDIA for 1 year in Pune. And while doing that, I always wanted to do research. So I took exam of GATE, and through that exam, I got selected into Indian Space Research Organization as a chief scientist. So while I was also motivated to work in ISRO, I always felt that because I did not have much research background, I should do something in research. And my mentor at that time in ISRO was Dr. Mohan Kumar, who was a mathematician. And within a couple of months, he realized that, okay, my interest is more towards research and not towards doing job. So he himself wrote a recommendation letter for me and said, you should go and do your PhD because I think you are suitable. And I also think that you are young, so that if you do PhD, then you can later also think of coming back to ISRO and contributing. So with that recommendation letter, I went to IIT Madras and got enrolled into master's program. So I started doing master's program, and the program was such that if you want to do coursework, it would take 2 years. If you want to do research, it will take 1 year. However, I convinced my professor to do coursework within 6 months, like half year, and I would submit thesis in merely 3 months after that. So within 8 or 9 months, I received my MTech degree in IIT Madras, and because of which I also was eligible to receive a scholarship to study abroad for my PhD. So that opened a door of research for me. So I went on doing PhD in National University of Singapore based on scholarship from the president. And there, after like 3 years of research, I started this company when I was still in Singapore. So I'll go to that story, but after coming back to India, I was also fortunate to study some executive leadership aspects at University of Cambridge. So what happened in 2015 actually? What made me think of starting this particular organization in an area which I was not at all familiar with, which is maternal and child health. So this goes back to my personal experience. So I had a friend back in India who was a doctor, and my friend's sister was pregnant in 2015. In 2015, she would stay near Parali Taluka of Maharashtra, which is like 300 kilometers away from Hyderabad, the top tier hospitals. In the last month of her pregnancy, she developed certain complication, and this complication was so the doctors there advised her to move to Hyderabad so that she could immediately deliver. So my friend, who was a doctor, she took her sister and took an ambulance and started a journey towards Hyderabad. It took 8 hours for them to reach. When they reached to the hospital, due to excessive bleeding, the child was already dead. And when the gynecologist in Hyderabad saw her situation, he had nothing to do. So he told my friend, who was also a doctor, that this is very unforeseen circumstance, but even if we could have monitored her blood pressure regularly in the last month, this situation could be identified early on. So actually this condition was hypertensive disorder, which occurs generally when you have hypertension, your blood pressure goes up, and in the last few days of pregnancy, if you don't get it noticed, then doctors cannot do at the last stage, and because of excessive bleeding, there is a chance that you lose your baby. So even when she lost her baby, doctors were able to save her sister. But this incident was so close to us that when my doctor friend started sharing this with me, I was a little bit emotional, as well as trying to understand why that would happen, even when we have so many hospitals, so many doctors, even your sister was well educated and all these things. Then my friend, she said, what I will do is I will do some survey in order to understand how many mothers suffer from such situation. And when she met few other gynecologists, she realized that this is not a unique case for her sister. It happens very frequently in India. And not only that, even though her situation was very unique, not only that, for a lot of people, even basic medication and basic monitoring is not available. And the data which gynecologists, when the mother gets admitted, do not have, they do not understand the complication at all, and they have very little to do at the last moment, and because of which we have very high rate of maternal and child mortality. So this incident was a I would say a turning point. So when I realized this is happening, I also took help from one of my other friends, Shantanu, who was studying PhD in biomedical engineering in Mumbai. So I shared with him and said, Shantanu, can we do something about it? And he said, we can definitely explore. So when he was studying in IIT Bombay, he did some survey with NGOs in Mumbai and also Hedgewar Hospital in Aurangabad, and realized that 60% of such deaths could be easily avoided if we regularly check pregnant women on basic things and maintain that data. So we started thinking about how to solve this problem. Remember, I was still doing PhD back then, but my professor was very supportive. Then we started developing one particular software called Care Mother, which was a mobile app at that time, and gave it to certain NGOs and hospitals in India to see whether they can maintain that data and whether we can early identify complications as such, so that we can avoid such unforeseen situations. What happened was, when we gave that application to facilities, we realized that the challenge is different. Challenge is not about maintaining data. Challenge is about even gathering data. So not many facilities have proper devices to monitor pregnant women on basic things like blood pressure, hemoglobin, urine protein, all those basic things, weight, height. Then we had this idea of having a portable kit of devices, so that when we give that kit to the hospitals, they will be able to monitor pregnant women, and we have all the data. So we ran that pilot, and within 1 year, we did like third-party assessments from Johns Hopkins, and we realized that we could early identify complications in 33% of pregnant women early on, and like almost 52% of pregnant women did not have any complication because of early intervention. So this was a remarkable result from the public health aspect, and that compelled us to think about how to scale this particular innovation. I went back to my professor and told him that, okay, apart from PhD, I was doing this my project, and we got a very good result that, okay, 33% of the pregnant women are identified as a high risk, 52% have been saved from the high risk. And that was the moment when my professor said, Aditya, if you really want to do something, I suggest you should go back to your country and make it sustainable. You have to take it along, and whatever it takes to take it to the market, people should use it, and then only you can create impact. Then only you will say that you have made it. So I came back to India in 2016, a year later, since we started Care Mother, and we registered as a private limited company with a thought that if we articulate an economic model around my innovation, it will be a viable business as well as it will be something which is impactful. So after like 2016, Care Mother was one of those projects, but while working with these community health workers, health facilities, as well as pregnant women, I realized that there are a lot of problems to be solved. And one of those problems which I'm going to cover in this talk is about fetal monitoring, baby monitoring. In the second part of my talk, I will cover about my recent innovation for COVID, which is a little bit different than maternal and child care. But just because of my experience in developing device, I think I could think of those kind of innovations in COVID as well. So let us go back to this baby monitoring innovation, which is called as FetoSense. So it is a smartphone-based fetal heart monitor. In the picture, you can see a gynecologist is keeping one particular sensor on the tummy of a pregnant woman, and she has a tablet in her hand where she is actually looking at the results. So this is what FetoSense is. It's a portable device which connects to your smartphone via Bluetooth, and it creates a ECG type of graph which tells gynecologist how much oxygen a baby is getting to its brain. And if there is some anomaly, gynecologist understands at an early stage, and then they know what medication or what treatment to be done. So not only for gynecologists, but also for health workers which are on ground, this is made as simple as it doesn't require any skill set to use. So let's start with this. Let me tell you how we identified this problem and then how we got about it. So there is again one more story before we started this FetoSense. So while working with Care Mother, we came across one health worker, Nanda Tai. So she was a health worker from Hedgewar Hospital, Aurangabad, and she once came to us and said, she told us in her own words, अरे भैया मैं एक बार एक प्रेग्नेंट वुमन के घर पे गई थी एंड वहां पे मैंने स्टेथोस्कोप से एक बार चेक किया तो ऐसे समझ में आया कि बच्चे की धड़कनें नहीं आ रही थी और तुरंत मैंने क्या किया उसको डॉक्टर के पास लेके गई तो डॉक्टर को समझ में आया कि जो बच्चा था वो डिस्ट्रेस में था और उसके बाद इमीडिएटली डॉक्टर ने उनको ट्रीटमेंट दिया और मुझे ये बोला कि अगर 15-20 मिनट तुम नहीं लाते बच्चे को सो इट मे हैव बीन ए वर्स्ट सिनेरियो. सो ये क्यों हुआ? सो आई हैड नो क्लू अबाउट इट हाउ टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन एंड व्हाट आई डिड आई आस्क्ड हर कि मुझे डॉक्टर से बात करना है, कैन यू प्लीज गिव मी हर डॉक्टर्स नंबर. सो शी गिव मी द नंबर एंड आई called that doctor. So that doctor said, see, this is a case of fetal distress. So generally what it means is, just because of some reason, your baby doesn't get proper supply of blood to its brain, and in turn doesn't get supply of oxygen to the brain. So fetus becomes inactive. So it doesn't move, doesn't do anything. And that this is because and this is why the fetus heart rate gets very low. If you don't wake up the fetus at the right time, then you might have a chance of losing it. So I asked him, like, how frequent is this problem? And he said this problem is very common, and generally this problem comes because we don't monitor fetus and their heart rate on a regular interval. And I said, what happens to the advanced technology? Right now we have machines and all those things. And he said, there are machines, but those are not affordable to us. As well as some of them are very bulky, they require maintenance and all those things. And in India, there is no manufacturer who manufactures these machines. So when I studied further, I came to know that every year we lose almost 3 lakh babies just because of this reason. What happens is, after your fetal distress, there are 2 conditions which arise. One is called asphyxia and second called preterm. So asphyxia is nothing but fetus doesn't get proper oxygen to its brain and the growth of the fetus stops. Preterm is nothing but baby delivers in a premature condition. So both of these conditions contribute to almost 50% of fetal deaths, and these are like 300,000 each year in India. As the gynecologist told me, so there is a particular test in order to early identify these conditions. So this test is called as NST test, non-stress test. So generally it is done in the 7th month of a pregnancy. In 10 to 40 minute of window, we capture the heart rate of the baby and corresponding movements of the baby. So in the left hand side, when you are seeing the graph, the blue line represents the fetal heart rate and the arrows at the bottom represent whenever the baby has moved. So in earlier case, when I was mentioning baby was inactive, there was no movement as well as there was no fetal heart rate at that time. So generally what happens is this test has to be done after like 7th month of pregnancy, because that is when your fetus gets developed, the heart gets developed. And for high risk mother, high risk maybe because of any reason like diabetes, anemia, hypertension, in any reason, you have to do this test twice in a week. Just because the machines which come to do that test are from foreign companies, they cost as high as 3.5 lakh rupees, and not many gynecologists, even I would say only 5% of the gynecologists would have that machine. Only 20% of the mother in India get coverage of or get NST done because they are connected to a gynecologist which have that machine. Almost 80% of the mothers do not get diagnosed, and this is the reason why we lose 50% of the fetus. So I took this as a challenge, how to solve this problem. And the first step I did was to understand what are the business implications of it. So for an innovator, I had learned by that time that innovating is not work done. You have to articulate a business around it so that innovation gets into the market, becomes useful for the people, and then only we have real impact. So I went to study different hospitals. So I visited Rainbow Hospital in Hyderabad, KM Hospital, Nanavati in Mumbai, Manipal hospitals in Hyderabad, as well as 50 other private individual gynecologists, and collected data about what they actually need. And I got only 3 things from them. First one was they want something which is portable and affordable. They want something which is automated. So even a nurse or even their health worker should be able to use such a machine. And third thing, they also wanted remote monitoring, because sometimes when they are not around and if patient has some kind of problem, if patient is being monitored, they should be able to look at it from remote location. So these 3 things were there: portable, automated result, and remote monitoring. So after understanding what market needs, I also try to understand what are the possible channels in order to reach the market. So just to put a number, we have almost 30 million pregnancies every year, like 3 crore pregnant women, and we have 40,000 gynecologists in India. We have general physicians as well, which are more than 1 million, who also in some capacity care for this pregnant women, especially in remote areas where not many gynecologists are available. And there are like around 2 million health workers in India, which are frontline health workers, which actually reach out to 80% of the women I was talking about. From the business perspective, if you talk about SOM, size of the market, it comes out to around $70 million. So market is also appropriate. There are channels, there is a need. And then I put forth my entire business into business model canvas. So this gave me an idea about what is needed, how to take it to the market, and what are the business implications of it. Then I did something like break-even analysis. I tried to understand how much time, money is required in order to create such an innovation, and from which point as a business it becomes viable. So I created one simple graph, everybody knows this, and try to do a break-even analysis. And also understood some sort of risks, financial risks, as well as all other risks. For that, I did not have knowledge about accounting and anything. So I had to learn all these things as well as take help from a lot of experts in order to understand. The point is, when we identify the problem, I did not look it at as an engineer. I looked it as a business problem because that is what will sustain. And sustainability was at the very core of my thought process. So how did I go about executing it? So execution is about developing the technology, then early acceptance from the user as well as expansion. Meanwhile, I read two books, which was about entrepreneurship, which was about 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel and The Lean Startup. Both of these books have helped me understand what it takes to bring something new to the market and also compete with existing players. So I had competition from GE, Philips, and all other established companies. And even when your innovation is good, it is always a question: how will you compete with all these giants when you have little resources? So I try to understand from other people's experience by reading books as well as meeting other people. And I laid out a very long roadmap. You can see since 2017 to 2023. So everything is not going according to the roadmap, but this is what helped me understand the entire landscape and how much depth we want to go even when we develop the technology. So on 6th May 2019, I developed my first prototype, which was simply a circuit with 3 electrodes and a software on the mobile phone. The prototype was very basic. In the month of August 2019, I refined it. And this prototype is called as a meter box because it was a little bit bigger, which has a screen. You can see the graph is there. And later I created a prototype in 11 June 2020. So this is a little bit advanced prototype I was talking about, which is still in the hospital. After second prototype, I went to a manufacturer and asked him to create certain size, like 10 prototype for me, so that I could go to the hospital and first of all test it for clinical validation. So I went to Nanavati Hospital and D.Y. Patil Hospital in Mumbai and gave them devices, gave them training on how to use it, and tried to compare this particular PhytoSense prototype with cardiotopography machine. And to our surprise, it was 40% better on the interpretability aspect and 97% sensitivity towards fetal heart rate, which was against very close to the gold standard. Then I approached regulatory authority for compliance and certifications. And because of it being a non-invasive class 2A low risk device, they gave me non-objection certificate. I also have received CE certification after the clinical validation stuff. So this is the latest stage of the technology, which is completely developed, as you can see. We also have filed patent on it. And now at the extreme right hand side, you can see a screen where there are 3 boxes at the bottom: normal, abnormal, and atypical. So this actually technology can understand the pattern of the graph, the movements, and tell you whether fetus is normal or it is abnormal under stress or it is atypical. So that gynecologists need not to go through every bit of the graph to understand what is going on. We give that interpretation handy. I also took help from Federation of Obstetric and Gynecology Society of India, which is like consortium of 35,000 gynecologists. And a lot of gynecologists have given me inputs from time to time. I could reveal this technology in June 2019 in Hyderabad with their president. And this was the start of my commercial journey in PhytoSense. Until that point, it was all about research, development, getting proof of concept, getting acceptance, and now it was good to go. So since then, like I have provided this machine to 85 different maternity homes, different towns and cities of India, and every day the number of mothers which get screened right now are 75. So totally we have screened almost 6,000 plus mothers through PhytoSense now. And now we are at a stage where we are scaling this technology through different channel partners. So some of them are here. Of course, when you innovate, you also have to take care of resources that you need. And from time to time, I was very fortunate to get support from a lot of organizations. So initially, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, because Shantanu was from IIT Bombay, he was doing PhD there. We could get support from a lot of alumni base, and this is where the power of alumni network comes. So one of the alumni of IIT had recommended our startup to their incubation center, and because of which we could get initial seed funding in terms of equity. And this is the support, which was a high risk support for IIT, but still they wanted to nurture our startup, and that is why I feel through that alumni connection, my entire journey has begun. Afterwards, we actually pitched to different organizations, went to different competitions, and because of the value of my innovation, I think they find that this could be very potential innovations to be scaled, not only in India, but also across other countries, wherever the problem of maternal mortality and child mortality is. And these are some of those organizations which have believed and supported us from time to time. Needless to mention that because of this innovation and the impact it has created, we could also receive global recognition from various entities. Even Prime Minister of India had asked us to come over and show him the innovation. I was also able to go to Buckingham Palace and gave one particular kit to Meghan Markle, who was daughter-in-law of Queen, so that the prince, the fetal heart rate of the prince could be captured. So all these are the parts and parcels of the journey when we started working on this. I never imagined that after leaving PhD and doing something of this sort will make me achieve all these things. But fortunately, we were able to do that. So this was all about Phytosense, and how did we actually go for how did we go for different phases since the idea to realization of the technology, and the support we received. So while working on Phytosense, because of the experience of developing one device, when this COVID pandemic had come, there was a little uncertainty all across. So in the month of February, we realized that pregnant women are very scared of visiting maternity homes facilities, and it was very obvious because at the time nobody had no clarity, and everybody wanted to protect. So because of that reason, I thought what could be done in order to help pregnant women, and I went to one such a clinic where instead of meeting gynecologist, I met a physiologist. And I happened to chat with him, and the physiotherapist told me that because of the COVID, what happens is lot of patients, when they go to ICU because of breathing problem, the ICU recommends them to have a physical therapy where we have to take out mucus which is collected in their lungs. So generally what happens is when you get infected with COVID, in your heart, in your lungs, the infection spreads, and which creates mucus. Mucus blocks your veins and breathing pipes. So while your oxygen saturation is already low, because of which you cannot breathe, and it worsens the situation. So even when you put on ventilator, generally ventilator tries to pump the oxygenated air from the lungs, but because the arteries are already closed, it has limited usage. And when patient is aged, suppose 50, 55, then what happens is you cannot clear out that particular mucus, and it worsens the situation. So I asked physiotherapist, then in those circumstances, what would you do? And he told me, what generally we do is we try to palpate patient. So what they generally do is they take their hand and they just hit patient at their back so that their mucus will come out. And I said, this is very crude procedure. Why don't you have any kind of technology in order to do that? And the physiotherapist said, there is one company outside India which is manufacturing one particular device, but the device costs around 13 lakh rupees. And what that device does is nothing but vibrate lung at a certain frequency so that mucus loosens out, and then you take out from the mouth of the patient. So I said, why can't we develop that in India? And he said, I don't know, but you are the engineer, you figure it out. I went back and because of the lockdown, I could not go frequently to the physiotherapist. So I asked him, is it okay if I try to develop something and try to call you again and again for that? And he said, it is completely fine. So me along with my friend in Mumbai for 2 months when we were in lockdown, we started thinking of how to solve this problem. So the technical term used for such a device is called as airway clearance device, because that means you are clearing out your airway breathing so that patient feels better for it. And the branch of or discipline of medicine is called pulmonology, and that is why I kept name as a pulmonator. So I studied that such a condition is called as ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and generally people who have certain breathing difficulty are prone to such a syndrome, and especially in COVID, almost 36% of the patients who go into ICU are admitted because of this condition. What happens is lung efficiency drops, it gets filled with the fluid, and the chest therapy, which is suggested in Germany and USA, is not possible if patient is very aged. Just because the patient might have other symptoms, other diseases or conditions, you cannot just palpate patient or hit on their back or on the front in order to loosen out the mucus. So I developed this device. You can see it in the picture. It's called pulmonator. The left hand side box is nothing but a circuitry, and the doctor, the oval type device you can see is actually the real device. So it is nothing but when you keep this on the lung of a patient, it creates sound waves. However, the sound waves created are of certain frequency. This frequency matches with the lung's resonance frequency. So resonance frequency is nothing but the frequency at which your lung will vibrate at the maximum amplitude. Once lung starts vibrating at the maximum amplitude, your mucus loosens out. So it goes down. And when it comes, so our body is actually very smart. So when mucus comes down to your airway clearance pipe, there is a shaft kind of mechanism in the body, which once it senses the mucus, it compels patient to throw that mucus out of their mouth by creating uneasiness. So the device's job is just to collect that mucus and take it to a level where body automatically tries to throw it out. So I created this device based on smartphone. You can see at the right hand side there are two knobs, which is one is frequency, second is treatment intensity. So frequency is nothing but you can adjust the frequency, and treatment intensity is nothing but at what amplitude you want the the lung to be vibrated of the patient. So we did pilot of this technology in Hedgewar Hospital again, because there is where I had my strong connection, and we tested it over 150 patients now. We changed device into 4 iterations, and today almost 95% of the patients have got speedy recovery because of this device. So this is into the last mode of clinical trials right now. I think I have already explained this. It's in the last mode of trial, and we are planning to take it out by the end of November after getting CDSCO approval. The model with which we want to go ahead would not be like 13 lakh rupees. We want to freely install pulmonator to every physiologist there, and it will be a pay-per-use model. So if physiologist would be charging some amount of fees to the customer. We want to share some portion of it. There would be no capital investment, just because we want to achieve scale as much as possible and create impact as much as possible. Ultimately, the focus would be on rural and urban population both. Definitely, we would appreciate any help needed in this context. So the whole agenda is around affordability. So this is the regulatory status. We approached CDSCO. They were also very keen to support this kind of innovation because this is the first time which is happening in India. We also filed for patent and have spoken to certain manufacturers to a certain extent. We received a grant from USAID and UKAID to develop this technology. And first 25 devices would be sent to Kenya, as well as some parts of Maharashtra to roll it out. So this is again about the mitigation. So again, while innovating this device, I tried to figure out what would be the risks and challenges. So there are definitely a challenge of producing this on scale, the distribution channel, licenses, and working capital. But I believe like experiences of working with medical technology in the past would help us mitigate a lot of them. And this is the current status. So this is a snapshot of what I was doing for the COVID. And earlier I have mentioned about PhytoSense, which was for maternal and child. So at this point, I would like to stop and would like to have a discussion around certain things, which would be more worthwhile than me presenting all alone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aditya. I think it was a great insight of your journey from PhytoSense to the COVID product. And we have lots of alumni, and we have a special alumni community called Business Innovations. And this particular session will be really helpful for all our youngsters and innovators in that particular group. We have actually, for some reason, disabled the chat section, but I request Rohit, who is the host of the meeting, or Manzoor Mirza sir, to please enable the chat section so that people can, or attendees can ask the questions to Aditya. But meantime, I have Vyas, who is leading our innovations activity, and he is right now joining us from New Jersey. So Vyas, if you are there, I would like to give you a feedback on the session for 2 minutes. Meantime, we can get some questions from attendees. Vyas, are you there? Rohit, we need to unmute Vyas.
Just let me check. Yeah. Yes, sir. Can you please unmute yourself?
Vyas, are you there?
Yeah, now I can unmute myself. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Abba, for this. And I must thank GACS and Maitra Jivanche for actually giving us this opportunity to have this wonderful session with you, Aditya. I must say your journey is very motivating and inspiring to all of us. Looking at your challenges and how you have identified this problem and how you have gone about implementing and finding a solution, it's just an eye-opener. It's just amazing and very inspiring for all of us here on the Business Innovation Forum. And we would like to actually even speak to you further and get more guidance as to how we can do this and innovate with a lot of other products and ideas that we have. And in fact, our goal here at the Innovation Forum also is to do similar kind of work. I mean, we're not thinking so much on the medical side as much as we are inspired to look at common problems that people would be facing in India and trying to get to the grassroots level and trying to find solutions which are cheap and innovative, and which can be adapted to Indian conditions. So looking at what you've done is so inspiring, and we would need a lot more guidance and help from you over here. And if you could just point us in the right direction, and give us some information as to how you went about doing certain things, and we'd like to take a lot of lot of this offline, so that we could get the guidance that we need. But thanks so much, and we really appreciate you coming and talking to us here on this front.
Thank you very much, Vas sir. I really appreciate your kind words. The thing is mutual, so I would also need a lot of guidance from the business community on different aspects. So Abba sir keeps on doing that, but I would appreciate if everyone can do that in their own capacity, then that would be great.
Thanks, Adi. We have some questions in chat. Would you like to go by one?
Yes, sir. So maybe. Okay. I think I need to stop.
Aditya, I think this Pankaj have one question. He can unmute and ask the question. Pankaj.
Okay. So
yeah,
yes.
hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Pankaj.
Yes, just a common question came to my mind, like how you are managing to not harm other organs when you are treatmenting our body with a sound, because heart is very close to lungs, and there must be some care taken. So
Yes,
I would like to know about that.
Very valid question, Pankaj. So this was the question I really appreciate you asked. Just by knowing what we do, we had to actually do thing in order to understand that this might be the problem. So pros goes to you. So what happens generally is the resonance frequency is different for your heart, and it is different for your lung. So there are multiple resonant frequencies for every organ, and because it is different for every organ, we can only focus on that kind of frequency which will vibrate the lung itself. So in that way, we do not vibrate anything else, only vibrate lung, and that reduces effect on all other organs. So this is a very proven technology, but nobody had thought of using it for secretion loosening and airway clearance.
I mean, here he is the same Pankaj Adi who spoke to you.
Yeah.
Remember last week when we were at Nasik, and Pankaj runs. He's our young entrepreneur from RIT alumni, and he's doing his work in 3D printing.
Right.
So thank you very much for talking to him last week, and I think those dialogues will really help all of us. Thank you.
Right. We had a very long conversation about different aspects. So I'm still yet to get back to him, but I'll go get back to him because yesterday only I came to Mumbai, and yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Aditya. This is Pramod.
Hi,
First
Pramod.
of all, I would like to congratulate you, and I really appreciate your efforts and journey so far. It's great. I mean, a salute to you. Actually, I had some medical conditions in the past 10-15 years back. And while I was discussing the things with my doctors, I had a couple of ideas relating to develop some devices, but those ideas died after a certain time. But when today I could hear from you your journey, and I really got again inspired. Why not to explore such ideas? So it will be great if I could get opportunity to talk to you a bit more about them. So I don't know how this can be done. Maybe you can send me your email ID or something of that sort, or maybe phone or something if we can discuss it more. I think you are the right person because you have gone through all that process and you know a lot more than what I know. Because normally the germs come up and they die. So it has happened to me long back. So if we can, revitalize the same life in that germ, let us see.
Sure, Pramod sir. Anytime. I will also give you my phone number and we can talk in detail.
Okay, I
Uh,
think Abba can also help me in that.
Yeah, definitely. Pramod, we have, I think I'm connected with Adi on day-to-day basis. So
Okay.
anytime you can just reach out to me, I will definitely help you.
Yeah,
Sure.
good.
And to your point, Pramod sir, it is definitely a little bit difficult to innovate in India because even when you have a very credible technology, uh, it is very hard to create credibility about the device. Nobody believes that you have created this in India, even globally. So you have to really push forward and show glimpses of what you have done, which nobody has done, and then only it gets accepted outside. So it is really, I would say, not very favorable environment in India, but ultimately it is a responsibility of people like me to change that perception, and we are trying to do our best.
Yes.
Thanks, Adi.
This is a great example of interdisciplinary, study.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Manzoor, can you please unmute
Shraddha.
Mr. Umesh Bhadkamkar, sir?
Yes, I will. Before that, one of my student alumni, Shraddha Alman, has one question.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Shraddha, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes. Hi, Aditya. It was a
Hello.
good session and very inspiring. And my question is same actually. Just Pramod asked, I'm a 2015 mechanical pass out, and I had a medical issues. So I have visited many times to doctor. So doctor is like, we don't have technology. It's just you have to care for your health and be updated. So I had discussed with doctor about some technologies, so we can build this even through the mobile app. Also, we can care ourselves. So further that I did not get proper guidance from anyone, and I did not find time also. So this session I find like very useful, and I'm looking some guidance and on this point.
Okay. Sure, Sadda. So one prominent thing you have pointed out is when generally I have also seen like when especially women go to maternity homes, they are very limited to like pregnancy care, child care, and there are a lot of women-related health problems which they could actually diagnose or treat, but just because they do not have proper technology, the diagnosis doesn't happen. So some of those examples are like cervical cancer screening or menopause treatment or even all other women health related problems. So my next step would be naturally to also innovate into that segment because if we cover more problems in the spectrum of women health, then we have a chance to cover almost 50% of the population. And I think everybody will agree if women is taken care in the family, then ultimately family becomes healthy. So my ultimate journey will be in that direction only to innovate more and more technologies for women wellness and care.
Yes, correct, Aditya. I have experienced the same. So, like, if we women care ourselves, and then we can avoid many health issues. So, if we work on this field and create some useful app in observation, then we can make women more healthy.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Manzoor, can you please unmute Umesh Bhadkamkar, sir?
Hello, I'm audible.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
आदित्य तुझे पीपीटी बघितली फंटास्टिक. एक क्वेश्चन मला विचारायचा होता. सर्टन एम्बियंट कंडिशन मुळे एक 110 आणि च्या वरती ज्या ठिकाणी नॉइज लेवल असते ज्या घरात तर ती न्यू बॉर्न बेबीज असतात त्यांना ऐकू येत नाही आणि बोलता येत नाही. तर त्या संदर्भात काही तू करू शकतो का?
ओके सर, हा म्हणजे प्रॉब्लेमच माझ्यासाठी थोडा नवा आहे, पण मला नक्कीच तुमच्याशी बोलायला आवडेल, बिकॉज आय थिंक तो प्रॉब्लेम प्रॉमिनंट असेल तर आपण काहीतरी खरंच त्याच्यावर करू शकतो.
कारण काय झालंय की ऑब्झर्व केलंय की टाउन प्लॅनिंग काही नाहीये. घराच्या अगदी 10 फुटावरनं तुम्हाला नॉईज येतोय आणि तो रात्री 2-3 वाजेपर्यंत 110 dBच्या वरती जातोय.
ओके.
आणि तिथे प्रेग्नंट वुमन असेल आणि ती नॉईज घेत असेल तर ते न्यू बॉर्न बेबी असतं, ते त्याला बोलता येत नाही आणि हे करता येत नाही. तर तुमचं डिव्हाइस असेल तर त्याच्यामध्ये अँबियंट कंडिशन तुम्ही कशा काय घेणार?
ओके. सो माझ्यासाठी पण जसं म्हणतोय सर की प्रॉब्लेम थोडा नवा आहे, पण नक्कीच मला थोडं रिसर्च करावं लागेल. आणि हा प्रॉब्लेम मे बी त्यांच्यासाठी खूप जास्त आहे जे फॅक्टरीच्या जवळ आहेत किंवा रेल्वेच्या जवळ राहतात, जिथे नॉईज जास्त प्रमाणात आहे, किंवा मुंबईला खूप एरिया आहेत ज्याच्यामध्ये तो प्रॉब्लेम आहे. सो मे बी वर्थ लुकिंग ॲट द प्रॉब्लेम.
Adi, I have worked in the field of acoustics for 17 years. So I think what I sense from this particular problem, it is more on creating the comfortable ambience. Okay.
Okay.
And of course with medical, but it is more on creating your entire envelope, building envelope, acoustically treated, and it can. So there are certain things which you may see now. All those flyovers are getting noise barriers, and they have a typical shape of one particular angled edge. Yes. The reason is to get the noise away from. But again, like sir has pointed out, the normal dB levels are very low. In fact, they are as low as 55 during night hours and 65 during day hours, which is, I think, in urban areas is impossible. But if that is the case, sir, I think we can catch up with Adi separately, and I would love to contribute from my side also how we can make that particular house then in advance before you are expecting baby, and you should acoustically treat that, and it's possible. Okay, like you can see if you enter an airport, so you can see very clearly hear the announcements. At the same time, you don't hear the warming up and landing and all those noises from aircrafts outside. So the entire building is acoustically treated. And Barkam sir, I think I thank you for bringing this particular problem, because in India we have stopped looking at acoustic comfort of buildings, and I was not knowing that this would really result in something like newborn getting dumb and deaf. So we can definitely connect with Adi, and Adi, it's worth looking at, but it's more on physical engineering side.
Okay.
Thank you for
मला 2-3 डॉक्टरांनी बोलवलेलं.
ओके.
त्यांच्याकडनं काही डाटा मिळतो का मी बघतो आणि मी तुमच्याकडे शेअर करतो.
नक्की सर.
दुसरा क्वेश्चन असा आहे, तुम्ही जे व्हायब्रेट करता तर त्याचा किती डीबी साऊंड आहे? लंग्स व्हायब्रेट करता.
सो डेसिबलच्या स्केलवर सर मी मेजर नाही केलं, पण मी फ्रिक्वेन्सी आणि अँप्लिट्यूडच्या स्केलवर सांगतो. सो जे मी अकॉस्टिक डिव्हाइस वापरतोय त्याची फ्रिक्वेन्सी रेंज आहे 40 हर्ट्स टू 80 हर्ट्स साइन वेव्ह, आणि त्याचं जे अँप्लिट्यूड आहे, त्याची जी पॉवर आहे ती आहे 40 वॅट्स 40. सो actually not much. Even when you hear using your ear, ते फक्त एक असं साइन वेव्ह सारखं ऐकायला येतं. It's not unpleasant.
एक क्वेश्चन असा आहे की मोस्टली ऍडल्ट मध्ये मी बघितलंय की खोकला ट्रीट नाही केला जात. तर त्यामुळे काय असतं, ते कॉन्स्टंट काही लोक खोकत असतात. ते का, आणि तिथे म्युकस जमा होतो, ते का होतो? कारण ते इलॅस्टिसिटी लूज करतात. तर त्याच्यावर काय तुम्ही सोल्युशन देऊ शकता? ती
one of the-
सीओपीडी नंतरची पुढची केस आहे.
ओके ओके अंडरस्टूड. सो मला वाटतं सर त्याच्यामध्ये काहीतरी टेक्नॉलॉजी ऑलरेडी असू शकेल विच आय एम नॉट अवेअर ऑफ, पण नक्कीच म्हणजे सेक्रेशन रिटेन्शन आणि सेक्रेशन साठी बरंच संशोधन झालेलं आहे. फक्त ह्या पर्टिक्युलर प्रॉब्लेम साठी त्यांनी कधी केलं नव्हतं, जो मी फिगर आउट केला, आणि इट वॉज अगेन बिकॉज ऑफ द कोविड सिच्युएशन.
त्याच्यात दोन आस्पेक्ट आहे, ऑक्सिजन लेवल, म्युकस आणि इलास्टिसिटी ऑफ द लंग. या तिन्ही गोष्टी तुम्ही कशा मॉनिटर कराल?
ओके, व्हेरी गुड क्वेश्चन सर. सो अलॉंग विथ दिस पर्टिक्युलर डिव्हाइस मी एक डिजिटल स्टेथोस्कोपवर एक्सपेरिमेंट केला. सो व्हॉट आय डिड, मी जवळपास 100 हेल्दी पेशंट्स जे आहेत त्यांचं लंगचा साऊंड रेकॉर्ड केला, आणि जे पेशंट ज्यांच्यामध्ये म्युकस रिटेन्शन आहे त्यांचा साऊंड, लंग साऊंड रेकॉर्ड केला, आणि त्या साऊंडचं मॅचिंग करून, सो मशीन लर्निंग वापरून त्या साऊंडचं मॅचिंग करून आपल्याला हे कळतं की तुमच्या लंग मध्ये किती प्रमाणात म्युकस असेल तर कसा आवाज येईल. सो इट इज लाईक मॅच मेकिंग. त्यानुसार कळतं की हाऊ मच ट्रीटमेंट इज डन. सो फॉर एक्झाम्पल, हे पल्मोनेटर डिव्हाइस वापरण्याच्या अगोदर जर डॉक्टरांनी डिजिटल स्टेथोस्कोप ठेवला आणि माझ्या ऍप मध्ये त्याचा साऊंड रेकॉर्ड केला आणि ही ट्रीटमेंट दिली सपोज 20 मिनिट, म्युकस बाहेर पडला आणि नंतर परत डिजिटल स्टेथोस्कोप ठेवला आणि साऊंड रेकॉर्ड केला, तर डिव्हाइस सांगतं की ट्रीटमेंट किती झाली, 20%, 30% सेक्रेशन्स बाहेर पडले. त्यामुळे डॉक्टरांना इंडिकेटर कळतं की अजून किती वेळ ठेवायचा आहे किंवा नाही ठेवायचा आहे ट्रीटमेंट झाली. सो त्या पद्धतीने मी त्याला क्वांटाईज करण्याचा प्रयत्न केला टू अंडरस्टँड हाऊ मच म्युकस इज स्टील देअर, आणि ते कशामुळे केलं, बेस्ड ऑन दी साऊंड ऑफ द लंग साऊंड ऑफ दी पेशंट.
Aditya, we have some colleagues from RIT, my colleagues from RIT. Kanaya Pawar sir, I have one question. Please, Kanaya Pawar sir, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello sir.
Hello sir, am I audible?
Yes sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir, I have one question. So we are well aware that the patients who are suffering from diabetes are increasing day by day, the number of patients. And when diabetes prolongs 6 to 7 years, the diabetic patients are suffering from one disease related with I called as diabetic retinopathy. And in that diabetic retinopathy, what happens with the retina is retina starts to detach from its main part, and many of the diabetic patients lose their vision due to this part.
Yes.
And this is one reason why people are suffering from retinal detachment. One major reason for that is diabetes, and one more reason is hypertension. So and I have heard that I was searching for from many years that there is no such device or anything that can attach the detached retina again, or we cannot produce a artificial retina. I think Apollo Center in London has that facility to change the retina or have artificial retina suiting to that particular eye. But due to some security issues, because retina and fingerprint are the two only unique identities of a person. So do you have any idea about that? So that those people who are suffering from retinal detachment, vision loss due to retinal detachment, can get out of it.
So thank you very much for this unique problem. So I'm also aware of the problem, but I don't think like there is a specific technology to address this. पण माझ्या एक ओळखीचे, so I have a doctor friend who has a startup in Bangalore who has created one pupil device which helps doctor do surgical treatment of retina. So the device is like he has patented very transparent film with certain markers which you keep on the eye of a patient and then you treat the retina. So I don't know whether that helps solving this particular issue, but I am not aware about the specific problem that you are mentioning.
Okay. Aditya, I'm going to introduce you one more colleague from my department who is doing a lot of projects, consultancy work, and he may be useful for you in development of your further products.
Okay.
Lokesh Patil. So Lokesh Patil sir. Please ask.
Hello, Lokesh sir.
Lokesh sir, are you there?
Yeah, he's there, but he's not.
Lokesh sir, please unmute and ask the
No,
question.
he's asking to unmute.
Hello. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
I was
sir.
not able to unmute myself. Anyway, so thank you, sir. What you are doing is very noble work, actually. In a similar direction, sir, I'm working with Krishna Institute of Medical Science in Karad, and a very fantastic problem these doctors are giving to me in the field of dental and physiotherapy right now, and some MBBS faculty is also giving some problem statement to me. So right now, what I'm dealing with some physiotherapy issue. So. Currently what is happening is pre-birth is a major issue that you explain, right? So after the pre-birth, generally what problem the child is facing is disability, and that disability is very dangerous. If you compare to polio or something, it is very dangerous. So I saw those childs, and those are literally physically they're totally damaged, and mentally also.
Yes.
So what is needed is to have some devices so that those could assist them to walk and further process for the brain to fill up their brain injuries and all. Now regarding that, I have also developed a device which is a walker actually, and one ADL table so that they could physically and mentally also they could prepare. Now that device I patented, but see what solving these issues, I am facing a major issue that I am a mechanical guy, and somewhere I feel that there is another technology that should be aligned to that, which is electronics and computer technologies, and there I am lagging actually. So somewhere I was looking for the experts who could definitely assist me, and we could able to produce some further research regarding that. So along with me, we have Dr. A.B. Kakade, who is electronics guy, but somewhere again we are facing with the issue with IoT based technologies, somewhere AI based technology. So regarding that, I wanted your help. Can we like go together and develop some devices? Anyway, like mechanical, I could handle. Like, is it a good idea that we could go further?
Yes, sir, definitely. So likewise, somebody has mentioned that interdisciplinary approach has to be there in order to solve these problems. So I would be obliged to help you in every aspect that I can. Maybe we can think about your project in detail and see what kind of different knowledge set or skill set that you require, and maybe we can figure it out how to co-develop it or something like that. So I would really be interested in talking to you further and see how we can take it ahead.
So Adi, we have Vyas and Sachin. I don't know whether he's there. So they are leading this innovation forum, and then Lokesh ji, if you can connect with Vyas, and then we can definitely Aditya will be available for us, and we can try to solve this particular aspect.
Yes.
So through innovation and this alumni hub, and we will be very happy to collaborate with Adi and then get it forward.
So
Manzoor, please, I think Rohit and Manali, please note these things so we can off the line. Maybe we can take separate time from Adi, and we can have a session on these particular aspects.
Sure. And Lokesh sir, you already have understood the problem. You already have hypothesized the solution. So I think it is almost like 70-80% of the work done. Whatever 10%, 20% that is required, I will be helping you out there.
Thank you, Adi. Manzoor, any more questions? Manzoor?
Yes.
Have you taken sir Lokesh? Have you taken Lokesh Patil sir's question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think there is no question. Victor, actually, Vyas want to say something.
Yeah. Yes, Vyas.
Vyas, go ahead, Vyas. Vyas, you can unmute and speak. Unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for that. I managed to do that. Adi, and I really liked some of the things that I was hearing here, and what Lokesh, Mr. Lokesh Patil had asked. I was actually going to ask you something similar about that, about interdisciplinary and prototyping and how you identified your manufacturer. That was one of my questions. But before that, it was a very interesting talk that Mr. Umesh Bhadmakar had mentioned, and you were also discussing this about noise in your prototype. And Abba also had mentioned something about sort of noise insulation. There is one thing that I wanted to add. There is noise cancellation technology as well, which is also there in headphones, which is there, which identifies outside noise and cancels those frequencies using, I think, they generate their own frequencies, which sort of nullify and cancel those frequencies. So that is something that you can also look at in terms of when you're working on your product. It can identify which are the outside noises and identify which are the noises that you want to, which is the sound that you want to concentrate on. So you can make that differentiation using your artificial intelligence technology, and then generate a certain frequency which sort of cancels that out. So that may be something that you possibly could look at. It's just an out of the box thing that's come to my mind, and just a suggestion. So
very good suggestion, actually. Yeah.
Thanks, Vyas. I think the treatment needs to be collaborative treatment. Like I replied to Badkamkar sir, it will be something from medical side, it will be something from mechanical engineering side or acoustic side, and we can make choices, because ultimately we need to look at cost optimization. That is the biggest challenge in today's era, because we cannot engineer something which is out of our pocket and we cannot afford it. So we can make good collaboration of those things. So I think with this we conclude, and I request Gajanan Gambhire sir, Professor Gajanan Gambhire, to please present vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, I'm thanks to Professor Mirza sir who have given this opportunity. So before concluding formally or giving vote of thanks, I would just like to summarize the session for in 2 minutes. I think engineer turned doctor, I will say, to the Dr. Aditya Kulkarni, who have started with the concept of innovation is not just developing certain idea, but deploying it to make an impact. And that was the just beginning of the session, and it was a really inspiring session. A lot of alumni who have said that. But what I have learned from this is that it's not about only development and idea, but it's the deployment and making an impact, and which you are doing. Also, one more thing you talked about, the now scaling the business, right? So it started with certain skill, and now you are scaling these particular things. And we as a RIT family, we are wishing you all the best for that journey and scaling further things. One more thing which I noted here is that a lot of your friends who have like a triggers or turning points of your journey, right? Like you mentioned Shantanu, Nannata, and even your PhD professor also, which helped this particular journey is from personal experience to making impact to a lot of maternal women fraternity. And also your pilot project was also inspiring thing, where you have worked very hard along with your PhD work. And within first year, I think you got a fantastic result. You identified 33% high risk potential mothers and 52% at no risk. So that was a great thing which you shared with us. And again, the whole journey, that understanding problem. But here a new thing which you have shared with us is that understanding the requirement of solution, which is about the automatic, any person can use that particular thing, and it should be a portable. So that was something new which you have shared, that is the requirement of a solution. And then a field work with a lot of hospitals, right, from different localities, and also the definitely the business perspective, how we can scale it, and how we can break even it to our capital investment. So I think and also you mentioned 2 very important books, out of which one I also read, that is a 0 to 1. I also suggest all my dear friends, alumni friends, to go through those books, 0 to 1 as well as the Lean Startup. These are very interesting books. So that is what is the summary of what we have learned so far. So I would like to thank you for sharing your valuable experience of this particular journey with all of us. And like your friends, I think there were a lot of questions which came as a problems, and I hope it will trigger to many of us to get this problem up to the solution and then to the scale, right? So I would like to thank you again from my bottom of heart. And also I would like to thank all the members of RIT Alumni Advisory Hub, our supporting partners, GACS and Maitri Jivanche. Thank you so much. Thank you all the participants as well. Thank you.